What would you do if you woke up and the person who almost killed you was the one person you trusted most in this world? Imagine losing 16 days of your life and finding out your own father is the reason you are lying in a hospital bed. Stay until the end, because what this family was hiding was never about love, it was about money, and I promise you will not see the final twist coming. I did not wake up to the sound of my name. I woke up to a stranger's voice whispering, "She is moving, get the doctor." For a moment I thought I was still dreaming, because everything around me was white. The ceiling was white, the blanket was white, even the silence felt white. Then the pain arrived, slow and cruel, starting in my jaw, then my ribs, then the back of my skull. It felt like my whole body had been taken apart and put back together by someone who hated me. My name is Madison Cole, I was 27 years old, and according to the nurse standing over my bed, I had been in a coma for 16 days. The last thing I remembered clearly was standing in a bakery, arguing with myself over a birthday cake for my assistant. Not a fight, not a scream, not blood, just frosting and candles. Everything after that was simply gone. Don't push yourself, the nurse said gently, memory loss is common with this kind of trauma. Even swallowing hurt. What happened to me? She looked away. I'll let the doctor explain that. Doctors only explain in person when the truth is ugly, and I already knew this was going to be ugly. A few minutes later he walked in holding a tablet, asked my birthday, the year, the president, my address, and I answered every single one correctly. Then he asked a question I could not answer. Do you remember your father? Of course I do, I said, almost laughing. When did you last see him? Sunday dinner, I said, smiling, and the doctor's face changed in a way I will never forget. He pulled up an X-ray. Madison, you suffered a fractured cheekbone, 3 broken ribs, a shattered wrist, and a severe concussion. Was it a car accident? He hesitated, then asked instead, do you remember arguing with anyone that night? I searched my mind and found nothing. No. The room went painfully quiet before he finally said it. The police report says your injuries happened inside your father's garage. My heart dropped. My father's garage? He nodded slowly, and I laughed out of pure disbelief, because none of this made any sense to me at all. Before I could ask another question, the door opened, and my mother walked in. For one beautiful second I actually believed everything was going to be okay. Mom, I whispered. She didn't answer, she walked slowly to my bedside, looked straight into my eyes, and spit in my face. The nurse gasped, the doctor stepped forward immediately, but my mother never even glanced at him. I would bury you before I believed a liar like you, she said, her voice colder than anything I had ever heard from her. Security pulled her toward the door, and she screamed over her shoulder, she tried to destroy this family, don't believe a single word she says. The door slammed shut, and I sat there frozen, with absolutely no idea what I was supposed to have done. An hour later, a detective knocked gently and placed a sealed evidence bag on my blanket. Inside was my phone, screen shattered, dried blood streaked across the cracked glass. It was found underneath you, he said quietly, we believe you were holding it during the assault. My hands shook as I picked it up, and somehow, one notification still glowed beneath the broken screen. It wasn't a missed call, it wasn't a text message, it was an unsent video titled, If Something Happens to Me, Watch This. We have never been able to recover the file, the detective admitted, and I stared at that cracked screen knowing the answer to everything was trapped inside it. That evening a neurologist visited carrying a clipboard instead of flowers. Your brain scans actually look encouraging, he said. Then why can't I remember anything? Memory doesn't disappear, he explained. Sometimes the mind locks a door because what's behind it is too painful to face all at once. So it will come back. Think of it like a 1,000-piece puzzle, he said. You won't find the full picture first, you'll find the corners. That sentence stayed with me long after he left the room. The next morning Detective Ryan Ashford came back, this time holding a coffee instead of my phone. I've been going through your call records, he said, sliding a slip of paper toward me. There was no name attached, just a number I did not recognize. It belongs to your father's business partner, he said, and according to him, you never said a word, you just called and hung up. Another locked door, another missing piece I could not explain. Before we could go further, My nurse walked in carrying a plain cardboard box with no return address. Inside was a scarf, a paperback novel, an old framed photograph, and a small brass keychain shaped like a compass. The moment I saw that compass, pain exploded behind my eyes and a memory tore through the darkness. My father laughing, my mother smiling, me handing him that exact keychain on Father's Day 3 years earlier. Then another flash, the compass hanging from the ignition of his black pickup truck, parked outside a building I did not recognize. Then nothing again, just darkness. "What did you see?" the detective asked, watching my hands tremble. "A truck," I whispered, "parked somewhere I wasn't supposed to be." More memories cracked open, one small piece at a time, none of them making sense on their own. I saw myself sitting in a diner booth that faced a parking lot, watching, waiting, recording something on my phone. "I followed him," I said out loud, surprising even myself. "Followed who, and why?" the detective asked. "I don't know yet," I admitted, "but I know it wasn't an accident." A woman I did not recognize appeared at my door holding a bouquet of yellow daisies, tears already filling her eyes. "You came into my diner every Thursday," she said softly. "You always asked for the booth by the window." "Why that booth?" the detective asked before I could. "Because you were watching someone," she answered, and pulled a small receipt from her purse. On the back, in my own handwriting, were 6 words: "Don't lose sight of Unit 14. My stomach turned, because Unit 14 was my father's storage warehouse. "You weren't watching an affair," the detective said slowly, "you were watching the company's books." He placed a photograph on my blanket showing my father entering that warehouse late at night carrying a duffel bag. Behind him, 20 feet back, phone raised, recording everything, was me. If I already had proof, I asked, "Why did I go home that night instead of going straight to you?" He didn't answer right away. He simply opened his folder and slid another photo across. My car parked outside my parents' house at 8:41 that same evening. The warehouse photo had a timestamp of 7:56, which meant I hadn't run to the police, I had run home instead. Another memory broke through, not the warehouse, the kitchen, my mother setting the table while I walked in holding my phone. "Mom, I need to show you something," I said in the memory, and played the video. She watched in complete silence, then reached over, pressed the lock button on my screen, and asked one question. "Did anyone else see this?" The memory faded, and a cold chill ran straight through me, because she hadn't been shocked at all. "My mother already knew," I whispered to the detective. "I wasn't trying to expose my father, I was trying to protect her." "Protect her from what exactly?" he asked. "From losing everything," I said. "I thought if she saw the truth, she would leave him before it got worse." "I had no idea," I continued, "that she had already chosen to stay, no matter what he had done." Just then my hospital phone buzzed, a number nobody should have had. The detective answered it, his expression shifting instantly. "The lab recovered more of the video." My heart pounded. "How much?" "Almost 3 minutes," he said, and warned me gently that watching it might unlock the rest on its own. "I'm ready," I told him, and he pressed play. My own voice, shaking, filled the room. "If you're watching this, something went wrong." The video showed my father stepping out of that warehouse, catching sight of me across the lot, and freezing. I remembered running, him shouting my name, the footage jerking violently as I sprinted for my car. A second clip followed, me sitting behind the wheel, breathing hard, whispering into the camera, "I'm going home, I'm giving him one chance, if he tells the truth I'll delete this." Watching it back, I finally understood, I hadn't gone home to destroy him, I had gone home to save him. The video ended, and the room stayed completely silent. "You still believed he would choose his family," the detective said quietly. "I did," I answered, "I just wanted my father back." Then another memory slammed into place, the garage, my father walking in, my mother standing beside him, both of them staring at the phone in my hand. "I know everything," I said in the memory, and he didn't deny a single word of it. Instead he looked at my mother, then back at my mother, then back at me, and said something I will never forget. "You should have minded your own business." A young nurse stepped into the room holding a visitor log, confusion written across her face. "Someone signed in to see you this morning," she said, glancing at me. "She says her name is Vanessa, and she wants to tell you the truth about the garage." I thought I would hate her the second I saw her, the woman my father had been hiding money for, the woman I blamed for tearing my family apart. Instead she walked in looking like she hadn't slept in weeks, hands shaking, eyes red and swollen. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, and for a long moment neither of us said anything else. Detective Ashford switched on a recorder. "You understand this conversation is being recorded?" "I do," she said, "and I need to say this before I lose the nerve. The night you confronted your father, he told me he was finally going to come clean about the missing trust money." "What trust money?" I asked, my chest tightening. "Your grandfather's trust," she said, "the one meant for you and your cousins. Your father had been moving pieces of it into a shell account for almost 2 years. To cover what?" I asked. "Gambling debts," she said quietly, "and when your grandfather started asking questions about the numbers, your father panicked. When you played that video for your mother, she wasn't shocked by the affair," Vanessa continued, "she was shocked that you knew about the money." Another memory surfaced, my grandfather on his porch, years earlier, telling me something he repeated my entire childhood. "The truth doesn't get weaker just because someone yells louder." "I wasn't trying to destroy my father," I whispered, "I was trying to stop him before Grandpa found out and lost everything he built." "When your father realized you weren't bluffing," Vanessa said, "he panicked completely. He kept saying if your grandfather finds out, the whole family loses the company." Another memory locked into place, my father grabbing my wrist, me trying to walk toward the garage door, my mother stepping in front of it, not to stop him, to stop me from leaving. "She locked me in," I said out loud, and Vanessa nodded through her tears. "Nobody leaves until that phone is destroyed," my mother had said that night, according to Vanessa. Everything finally fit together, the fraud, the phone, the beating, the coma. None of it had ever been about protecting a marriage, it had been about protecting money and appearances. "Why come forward now?" the detective asked her gently. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small flash drive. "My home office has a security camera. Your father came to see me the night after the assault. He confessed," she said, placing the drive on the table. "What does he say?" I asked, barely able to breathe. "He says he didn't hit you because you lied," she said. "He says he hit you because you wouldn't stop telling the truth." Nobody in that room moved for a long time. "I think this closes the case," Detective Ashford finally said, sliding the drive into an evidence bag. 3 months later the district attorney called me personally, not with more questions, but to tell me it was finally over. Between my father's own words, the recovered video, and Vanessa's testimony, there was no room left for doubt, and he accepted responsibility rather than drag the whole family through a public trial. My mother wrote me exactly 1 letter, and I never opened it. People ask me why, and the answer is simple. I spent 27 years begging my parents to hear me, and I wasn't going to spend 1 more day begging them to understand me. A year later I visited my grandfather's grave with a small basket of strawberries, the expensive kind I never got to buy that day at the bakery. I smiled, because somehow the smallest, most normal memory was the one that had waited patiently for me the longest. A gentle wind moved through the trees, and for the first time since waking up in that hospital bed, I didn't feel angry, and I didn't feel broken. I finally felt free. People often ask what the hardest part of surviving was. It wasn't the broken bones, it wasn't the 16 days I lost, it wasn't even the memories that came back one painful piece at a time. The hardest part was accepting that the people who were supposed to protect me chose to protect a lie instead. But here is what that night finally taught me. The truth doesn't disappear just because someone tries to silence it. Sometimes it waits quietly, patiently, until the person who survived it is finally strong enough to speak it out loud. And when that day comes, the truth stops belonging to the people who tried to bury it, and it finally belongs to the one who lived through it. If this story kept you watching until the very last second, that is exactly why I make these videos, so hit that subscribe button right now, because next week's story is even darker, and you will not want to miss where it goes.